Good day, students. Today we're going to look at some solutions to practice 5 in book 2 of math 1026, page 27, 28. I've chosen 3 for the first video. There's 3 videos in this series in practice 5. 5, 8, and 11. So let's look at these. Now we're adding and subtracting rational expressions. Okay? And again, anytime you add and subtract a fraction of any sort, you must have common denominators. So we're going to look for the LCD, right? We have to find the LCD of all of these. Now if I look at number 5, so have a look at number 5 first. Look at each denominator. You can see 6x squared, or 6y squared, and also 6y squared. Oh, so the denominators right away we can tell are the same. And if they're the same, then you can write it just over one denominator. So I'm going to change that to just 1 because they're both the same. Now we have to be careful here, and the reason I picked this one is because of this minus sign, and it's a minus sign in front of a binomial. We have to be very careful here, because if you're not careful, it's so easy to make a sign mistake. So when you're subtracting, more common to get errors there than, okay, so what do we do? Well, what does that mean? So I'm going to rewrite the top. Just watch how I write it. Minus in front of, and I'll use brackets anytime minus occurs in front of a binomial or a trinomial. Okay, now for some teachers, they teach it just change the sign. Some people treat it as -1 in front. So if you think of it this way, it's like having a coefficient of -1 in front, and you can distribute that sign through. Okay, so that means the sign is going to change. And if you don't do it this way, you're going to make a sign mistake or similar. Okay, so watch what happens. You get -2y, and then you get a +15, because -1 times -15 is +15. And of course, you just continue with the common denominator on bottom. Just leave it there. Now of course, like any algebraic expression, we add like terms where we can, and in this particular case we can. We got 5y and -2y, right, are like terms. Combining those, 5y minus 2y, I get 3y. Now combining my numbers, -3 and +15, I get +12 all over 6y squared. And again, keep simplifying until you can't go any further. There's still, you might have noticed already, a GCF, greatest common factor, in the numerator. Alright, so we factor that out. We can see 3 is common, leaving me with y plus 4 all over 6y squared. Now there's a further simplifying here, if you can see it. Okay, we can see that the 3 is multiplied now. It's outside the bracket, so I can cancel this 3 with or divide this 3 into the 6, whatever way you want to say it. 3 goes into 6 twice. That's permitted to cancel like that. So our final answer is y plus 4 over 2y squared. Okay, so there's number 5. Alright, let's tackle number 8 now. In number 8, you can see that there are 3 denominators, okay, 3 separate fractions, and again, your objective is to make the denominators the same. Now if we did it purely by fraction, you would look for an LCD here of what? What's your lowest common denominator? Well, if you look at the numbers only, so if you forget about these, what would the LCD be between 2, 4, and 6? Okay, and you can probably come up with that pretty quick. The LCD is 12. However, when you have variables combining with numbers, your LCD must include the variables too. The objective is to make your denominators all the same. So for example, if I looked at it and I factored each one, if you looked at it this way, and 2 times 2 times y, and I treated this one as -5 over 2 times 3 times z, how can I make every denominator the same? Okay, that's the thing. It's the same thing as choosing an LCD. Well, if I had another 2 over here, it would match this one. I'd have 2 2's. That means I got to put another 2 over here to have two 2's. Now I have a 3 here, but I don't have a 3 in the other, so I have to multiply this by 3 and this by 3. Now I can see y, there's a y in each one, so I'd have to multiply this one by y and this one by y over here as well. Then I have a, then I see a z that it's in the last one, so I have to multiply all of these by z's. That gets very cumbersome if you do it that way for these longer type questions. Okay. However, it's easy enough here to, to do it just with the like you normally do fractions, right? Just with the common denominators. So let me put back. Oh, wrong button. Let me get my pen working here. Put that back again. 2x, 4y, and 6z. Now, so we can see between the numbers, the LCD is it is 6, right? Or sorry, 12. 12. We already said that, right? The LCD here is 12. So, and in our variables, of course, we're going to do x, y, and z. All right. So as you can see, therefore we have to multiply each fraction by what to make it 12x, y, z. So in order to make the first one 12x, y, z, you got to multiply by 6. 2 times 12. We need a y and a z. So this is 6yz times 1. Now I'm going to move this over a bit to give me some room. The minus. Okay, and I'll rewrite that again. Okay, that's going to be minus 5 over 6z, and the reason I did that was, of course, to give me room to multiply here. What am I multiplying 4y by? Well, I need to get 12, so we got to be 3. And then whatever you multiply the bottom by, you must multiply the top by. I need an x and I need a z to make the denominators all the same. And this one here, of course, will become what? Let's see. We need to multiply by 2 to get 12, an x to get x, and a y. So I'll multiply both top and bottom by that. Now simplify each term. Now you can write it over one denominator, or you can keep all denominators separate. I'll do it once more using all the denominators. So 2xyz on bottom, and 1 times 6yz is 6yz, plus here I get 12x y z, and on top I get 3 3s are 9x z. Subtracting, let's see, again I get 12 x y z, and 5 times 2 is 10 x y on top here. Now we can write it all over one denominator, right? 12x y z. Let's see, the first term is 6yz plus 9xz minus 10xy. Now, can we add any like terms? Are there any like terms? No, we can't go any further. So this is your final answer for number 8. Okay. Now have a look at number 9 down on the bottom. And in number 9, you can see I have 2 denominators, just 2 fractions here. So now again, on bottom on here I have y times y. And we want to make denominators the same, right? Call our lowest common denominator. So if there's a 2 in this one, then I need a 2 in this one, right? So I'm going to have to multiply this by 2. Of course, if I multiply the bottom by it, I must multiply the top by it, right? Since there are 2 y's in this one, y times y is y squared, then I need 2 y's on this one, right? So the trick is to make your denominators the same. Okay? Make your denominators the same. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so therefore we've determined in order to make this a 2, I got to multiply this by 2 over 2, and to get the other y, I multiply this one by y over y. Right? So very quickly we can see that our LCD therefore was what? 2y squared, isn't it? Alright, this one now, use brackets when multiplying. So y times y, on top I'll get y squared, y times positive 5 plus 5y, all over 2y squared. Now again, be careful with this minus sign, and that's the reason I chose these. That minus sign has to be, you have to be very careful with that. It's having the same as minus in front of. So if you want, you could write it like this: minus 2, put the 2 in front, and multiply over 2y squared. Now you might be able to see it a little better. It's minus 2 times y, and minus 2 times minus 5. Alright, okay, let's just put it now. We're going to put it all over 2y squared, since we have a common denominator now. The first part of our numerator is that section, and then we got to multiply. Minus 2 times y is minus 2y. Minus 2 times minus 5 is positive 10. See how the sign changes there? So again, if you have this minus sign in the middle, be careful. You have to multiply through by the minus sign. Adding now, yes, we do have like terms there, so I can add those two to give me 3y. Plus 5y minus 2y gives me 3y. Positive 10, there's nothing I can do with that. And it looks like there's our final answer. Now we would factor the top normally and try to simplify further, but that top doesn't factor. And there you have it. That's the answer to those three.